Becoming a successful professional speaker is a journey. How do you find that first stage, the next stage, and then the bigger and better stages? I'm Lee Hayes, your host. My co-hosts and I are here to guide you to a more successful speaking career. You're listening to Path to the Main Stage podcast. Hey everyone, here's my prediction. Today, after my podcast, you're going to say, we want this co-host back again, because her breadth of knowledge and her charming way of putting things, which let me warn you right now, she's a little like me. She's going to be blunt, straightforward, call it like she sees it, but she really sees good things. So today my guest is Lauren Pibworth, who is a marketing superhero for professional speakers. She owns the company Pibworth Professional Services, which is pibworthps.com, where she and her team, she's got a good-sized team, develop websites for speakers. And she works with a lot of speakers at a high level, so she knows a thing or two about a thing or two. She's been in this business 20 years, and she agreed to share all the stuff that goes into building a website. So please help me welcome Lauren Pibworth. How are you today?
Great. I'm fantastic. I'm almost always fantastic, though, so that's nothing new.
Yay! And I love that. I love positive. I love energy. You've got such great energy. And I know you've done a lot with espeakers.com. You've done a lot with professional speakers. And we were talking about what we call legit, solid speakers in that 10, 20, and above $1,000 range. And when I say that, a lot of speakers go, oh, I made that once. No. These are speakers who are at that level.
Consistently.
On a continuing basis. They're consistent.
Yeah.
And you have such great experience. Like I mentioned, 20 years in this business. You've worked with so many speakers. I really appreciate you spending time today talking about websites, because I have found, as a speaker manager, that even when a client contacts a speaker directly and says, hey, we're considering you, they still want the stuff, right? They still want to see the website. They still want the sizzle reel. They still want the testimonials, et cetera, et cetera. Just because somebody contacts you doesn't mean they're all in. It means they're testing the water. So you need it then. And then you also need it, for goodness, for outreach, right? That people are landing on your website, that you're sending it, that you're using it as a tool. So websites are so important. Anyway.
Websites are proof.
Yes.
So whether you're using it to reach out and say, yes, you don't know me, but here's something about me, or yes, we've had a conversation, but your clients are still going to go to your website to make sure that you actually look the part of what you sounded. So yeah, absolutely. They're at 100% proof. And they are, they can be an amazing tool for outreach, providing they're put together well. They can also be really, really bad for outreach. I consider your website to kind of be like your house. So I'm not going to invite people over to my house until I've cleaned it and I've made sure that there's enough chairs for everyone, and that I've got the right food and drink in the fridge. So I'm going to prepare my home to receive my guests. So your website needs to put your best foot forward, because it is the home. It's the place where you invite everyone from. People from LinkedIn, choose your website. People who saw you on stage, visit your website. It's the hub where everything lives. So yeah, it has to be fantastic.
I've never heard of anyone parallel that with a house. That is so true. You are inviting guests to see your stuff, right? You're opening the curtains and saying, here I am. It better be your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
All right. So can we please start with and we're going to outline basically this podcast for everyone. What are some of the most important components of a website? Because then I'd love to go back and break them down for everyone. How do you prepare material for these things? So when you're building a website, your team is building websites, what are the components that on a basic site, obviously they can get very, very complex. On a simple site, what are the most important components?
So the very most important component is your headline and your promise statement. So the very first thing they see when they land on your website, because if that doesn't catch them, it doesn't matter what else is there. So, so your headline and your promise statement, you need to be able to quickly tell the prospective client what problem it is that they likely have that you know how to solve. So that's really important in there. We need to make sure you have your speaking topics, your meeting planner page, and we'll actually talk about that in depth. Testimonials, and a, a sizzle reel, but I'm going to give a little bit of a caveat about that, because a really good sizzle reel is great. A really bad sizzle reel, you might as well just, so we can we can chat about that. But and of course, making sure that your contact information is right at the top, right? Don't never make it difficult for someone to give you money.
Oh my goodness, so true. So true. And do you know, Lauren, and maybe you found this too, I would say, this is going to sound like a crazy number, 1/3 of speaker websites I go to make it very difficult to contact them. I would say 10% have no contact information of any kind.
Or they have a contact form.
Yes, let's get into forms when we get there. Absolutely. Love forms. All right.
So I think those are the main, I mean, there's all kinds of other things, but I think those are probably the main things to start with anyway.
Okay, beautiful. So, all right, so we have either I have a website or I don't have a website. So either I have one, I want to redo it, or I don't have one at all, I need to start. Where do I start? What is step one? I mean, I don't just start designing it, right? Where do I start to get a good website?
Well, I say this on almost every podcast that I appear on. If you do not know who you're talking to, what you're selling, and why they should give you money to fix that problem, stop marketing. Just stop, because you're wasting your money. So the first thing you start with is clarity. Not writing your site, not designing your site, not choosing your web expert. You need to get clear on exactly what it is that you're selling. And we chatted a little bit about that too. You are not the product. The problem you solve is the product. So we need to start with figuring out why someone would ever hire us before we begin with the website piece.
So many speakers who come to me who are starting out say, I have a great story to tell. A great story to tell maybe is not what you're talking about. How do I start from I've got a great story to tell and figure out who cares and why and what problem I'm solving? How do I move from that step to solving a problem?
A lot of this, and if you've got a great story and you've never actually told it, I mean, if your mom says, "Oh, honey, that's just such a great story. I wish more people could hear it," you're not ready. You're just not ready to start. So how do you move from story to problem? There's a lot of going back and forth and talking to people. The perfect example, I got a client who climbed Mount Everest. Great story. I went through, I mean, I almost fell in a crevasse and so on and so forth. But what he needed to figure out is, what were the lessons he learned from the story? How did the story change him? What could he bring to an audience that would actually help? So the story is the vehicle with which you solve your ideal client's problem. So he realized that teamwork was really, really important in climbing Mount Everest, because he did it with his family. He needed to know that preparation was really important. So he went through and he looked at the story and found the bits in the story that might relate to a problem that someone had. That's a really good place to start. And then ask your, I mean, this is a longer process. This isn't just a, okay, I'm going to do this today and tomorrow and I'll be ready. Ask the clients who you have spoken for, the people you have spoken for. What was it in the story that you think you could use? Not just, I was so inspired. Because inspired is lovely and that's a great way to make people feel, but it's not something that that buyers are going to pay for. You've got to
Because
find that pay
like you
for
said
thing.
when we first started, right? It's not about you. It's not about the speaker. It's about what the speaker brings to the audience. So
Exactly.
I know I have heard speakers, like you said, climbing Mount Everest. Those were air quotes for anyone who's not watching. Is a great. It's like, wow, you did something amazing. How does that help me?
Exactly.
Like, it was a cool story.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually come here to watch a movie. You're a business speaker or a motivational, whatever it is. But there should be, I should leave with something, right, as a customer.
Exactly. And the other thing that so many speakers get a little bit confused about is they stand in front of their audience and they're connecting with their audience and they get a standing ovation. They did a wonderful job, but the audience is not the one who paid the bill. It is the client who paid the bill. So the client is not hiring you to inspire their sales team. They're hiring you to get better numbers or teach them how to close or teach them how to not be afraid to start a cold conversation. They have a specific issue that they need your help with. So your story can inspire them to what? What is the outcome of your story? And that's another one of those things that we've got to figure out together before we can start marketing.
Well, you make such a beautiful point, which is the audience members are not the one going to your website to hire you. The meeting planner or the bureau agent or the CEO is going to your website to decide whether they want to hire you. So it's I always say that you've got two audiences, right? You have the people sitting in the seats, so you've got the people who are going to pay you money.
Exactly.
And the website is really for people who are going to pay you money.
Exactly. I mean, and unless you are a speak to sell, unless you're getting up there and speaking in order to sell your goods or services, then yes, you need to connect with the audience on a what I call a payment level. But most keynoters, most trainers, the people in the audience aren't the one paying the bills. So don't market to them.
Now, a very good differentiation there, that really what we're talking today is about websites for people who are looking to speak, to be paid as speakers.
Yes.
It would be a little bit different. And I know you do those websites too for people who sell a product, but that's an entire different skill set. It's an entirely different website, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
okay. All right. So you mentioned that it's really important that the speaker understand the problem that they're solving for the audience, which is why they're being hired. You had mentioned having that promise on your website. How do you take this idea of, all right, these are the problems I solve? What is important to those on your site, and where do you put that information? How do you convey that to the possible buyer?
Well, we want a really tight promise statement, just a few words at the top, at the headline. So I've got a couple up. So just if I look this way, that's just
That's
so.
okay.
For instance, for one of our latest clients, her promise is the leading voice in domestic abuse in the workplace. She is a survivor and was an HR director. So she was able to combine that. I've not only lived it, but I've been on the other side. I can speak to both areas. So she was able to really communicate that succinctly in her headline. then it's woven throughout. That little bits of that story is woven throughout. It's in her bio, absolutely, on her about page. There's a little bit of it in her bio on her homepage, because you're going to have a short bio on your homepage, a longer about. And the about page isn't actually about them. It's about how what they did solves your problem, but we'll get to the about page. Your speaker website is never about you. You think it's about you, but it's not about you.
My goodness, I love you so much, Lauren. Okay, everyone hear that, right? It's not about you. So it's not about what's your favorite color, what's your favorite puppy, what's your favorite, yeah. It's about the audience. Yes. Okay. Now, what is the difference between the promise statement and just my topics? Why don't I just put my topic headlines as a promise statement? Like I have 3 or 4 topics.
Good for you, but I don't care about that yet.
But what is the difference though? So, you know, for example, I have a speaker whose his topic is turn your, cash eating monster into a money making machine, right? That's what his keynote's called. But I don't think that's really a promise statement.
Well, it's not, because I have no idea what that means. So your promise statement has to make them look at your website, go, yes, that's me. I can relate to that. So it needs to be clearer on the problem and the audience and less about the topics. So usually a promise statement is a broader explanation of the problem, and then the topics are, I solve it this way, and I solve it this way, and I solve it this way. Does that make sense?
And absolutely. You mentioned when you first landed there should be a promise statement. Is the promise statement the same as the problem you're going to solve, or is there differentiation there?
Promise statement is usually more of an, well, it depends on the way we take that. A promise statement is either the problem front and center, or it's what happens after the problem. It's the transformational feel. So, and that will depend on how you decide to attack your marketing. Most people want to say, first I was here, oh, and now I'm here. So stop marketing, start selling. Okay, that's a promise statement. I don't want to spin my wheels marketing. I want to get some gigs. That matters. So it's the outcome, it's the identification of the problem, and then turned quickly into what happens after the problem is solved. The out.
Beautiful. So if we can talk about now the landing page. So I'm going to break it down step by step for listeners. What should be, now I'm old school, I'm an old person, right? There used to be what they called above the fold. And this is for you youngsters out there. There used to be this thing called a newspaper that was folded up, and the headline is the one thing you saw. When you got this paper, you couldn't read the whole paper. You just saw what was above the fold, and they still call it that. So when you land either on your phone, just that first page that shows up on the front of your phone when you search someone, or on your computer, that first page that lands, right? That's your landing page or your above the fold. What is everything that should be right there before any clicking is required, before any scrolling is required? That feels like an important piece of real estate to me.
So first of all, above the fold is a moving target because it changes on every device. So when you land on your phone, you've got a couple square inches. When you land on your computer, I happen to have my monitor as my old television, so I got a honking big space. But the most important things to be able to be seen above the fold, no matter what device is, contact information. Don't make people look for it. Your promise statement. So it's usually logo, contact, and then I like to fold the menu into what's called a hamburger, the three little dots, so it's not taking up a bunch of real estate. And then the most important promise statement, maybe your picture, but the way websites are built now is they'll automatically stack information. So you want to be able to control what's seen. So a really great photo of you, preferably of you doing your thing. A headshot is lovely. And if you don't have a really amazing video montage that you can put above the fold to really highlight you, then a headshot is great, especially when you're first starting. You're not going to have a huge montage, but your promise statement, really good photography, like the best photography that you can have, and your contact information has to be front and center.
So let's just jump right into contact information. I was going to save that to the end, but you know what? I think we should move it to the front. Tell me about contact information. How is it? Just lay it out there. How should this be done? And how should it not be done?
Should always have your phone. I understand that if you are a woman and you don't necessarily want your phone number out there, I get it, but there's ways to go about that. We can use Google Voice, we can use all kinds of things like that. I want to be able, as a buyer, I want to be able to find you as quickly as possible, and I want an answer to my question as quickly as possible. So I want your phone number, I want your email address. If you use WhatsApp, that's great too. I want a link to your contact page where you can list all of that. So if we're still talking above the fold, phone number, email, contact, and then on your contact page, people love forms. They love contact forms. They love to put all kinds of information. I'm going to collect all the information in that contact form. And nobody fills them out anymore. Do you want to spend time filling out a contact form, or do you just want to know, hey, I've got a gig on Thursday. Are you available? I'm not going to fill out a form for that. So again, this goes along the line of making it easy for people. So yes, I'll have a form, and if you want to fill that out, great. But here's how you reach me by phone. Here's how you reach me by email. Here's how you reach me by WhatsApp. I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to get in touch with me so we can book a call, because that's really and the whole book me at the very top of the page, chances are they don't know if they want to book you. So that's a little bit like asking someone to marry you before you've had your first kiss.
God, I love the way you put things. But you're right. I find book me a little bit aggressive, because that's not the point that they're at. And one thing I found, I don't know if you have ever found this, that the people who have called me tend to be extremely high-level people. When my phone rings, I have had calls from the CFO of the Boston Red Sox, the CEO of Keller Williams Real Estate. And I go, I'm sorry, who is this? But they say, but you know, the thing is, when you have somebody at that level, they want an answer right now. They're thinking about it right now. They are not going to fill out a form or send an email or whatever. They pick up the phone, they want an answer, maybe a text, maybe. But that's it. If they're willing to go through the form or all this, their assistant will complete the form. Their assistant will send an email. I recommend answering your phone. I have met amazing people by picking up the phone.
Those people who say, "Oh, I don't know the number, so I'm not going to answer." Well, chances are you're not going to have the number for the Boston Red Sox saved on your phone. So have it. I mean, and if it's someone that you don't want to talk to, take a minute and say, you know what? I'd love to, I mean, if you do want to talk to them, I'd love to talk to you further. Now's not a good time. Send me an email and I'll send you my booking link.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to take the chance that it's somebody amazing and then have a plan for if it's somebody that isn't necessarily going to fit into your day at this moment.
Right. And I mean, with technology now, they have was like the Apple screening or whatnot. You have to, well, I find it a pain, but I get it. If you really want to screen your calls, it's a very simple one button screening process where they have to give their name and then you can choose to not pick up. And I think if you pay attention, you learn 90%. I have a 90% success rate where by looking at the number, I can usually tell if it's spam or not, because spam tends to come from my home state. Because the spammers use, like, whatever your area code is, all the fake numbers come from that area code because they're trying to be local. And, anybody who's not from my area code, I'll usually pick up. If it is from my area code, I know it's a fake.
Thankfully, my cell phone says likely spam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I don't pick those ones up.
No, but if it doesn't know, it's like, this might be a real call or could be, or
exactly
possibly, whatever. I grab those.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, tell me the problems with forms. You said everyone loves forms, but they're not great. Why not?
Because people don't fill them out. So what's the point? And you don't necessarily know. I mean, some forms, like we still have forms on the website. Of course we do, because some people want to fill out a form. I mean, I don't know who they are, but some people might. But you don't necessarily know if that form email has gone through. As someone filling out the form, it may say, thank you, your message has been sent. But especially with the email issues, DMARC, all the privacy issues, Google putting things in promotion boxes and spam, and you don't know where it's going to be. It sends you an email from your form, but you don't get it. It's gone into a different folder. It wasn't delivered at all. So forms they're just so much less personal than picking up the phone or sending a text. I mean, I get client requests through Facebook Messenger. They're going to use whatever they happen to be on at that time. Your job is to make it easy for them.
Yeah, and I do get forms because, my speakers, their forms come directly to me. I absolutely do get forms, but I always recommend that my speakers use simple forms, right? They do not require what is the start date, what is the end date, what is the locate, what's the hotel. Like, there's not tons.
What's your bra size?
Because that we need to know. I was going to say shoe size. I like it. Let's go with bra size. But I feel like you need their name and maybe their email or phone or something like that. But I don't require them. What's your budget? That always is a question that drives me crazy. Because I don't know if anybody ever has been to a used car lot, or you walk in and they go, hi, what's your budget today? It's like, wow, hi, what's your bra size, right?
Yeah.
I find that a very off-putting question. But I know some speakers say, well, if they don't have the budget, I'm not interested. Okay. But I have found there's a lot of value in networking. So I'll take every call.
And there's a lot of value in things that might not be budget related. I've only got 5,000. Tell me more about your event, and then you find out, you can sell books at the back of the room. They're having it professionally videoed, so you're going to have a 3-camera shot of your keynote. Okay, I'll take $5,000 when I would have paid 10 to have my own keynote shot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
If you don't have the conversation, you don't know what other things, maybe you'll take a $5,000 keynote gee, you want to fly me to Malibu. and you'll put an extra 3 or 4 days on either end, and I can bring my spouse. That doesn't sound like a bad deal. right? You don't know unless you have a conversation. And if you're blocking yourself from having that conversation, that's your that's your problem.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of value besides just cash. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, contact information is extremely important. And do my recommendation to test your form if you have one occasionally, because they break. Links break, like you said. Things happen. They don't get delivered. I always recommend my speakers, every few months at the very least, just send one form to me, and I'll be like, "Yep, received. Good. Test is good."
And
Just to make sure.
and it's always a good idea to send to more than one person.
Hmm. Okay.
That way, if because I'll send it, because I mean, if you're testing it from yourself, like if I'm sending from Lauren@pibworthps.com to Lauren@pibworthps.com, it'll often not work because it's the same domain. You want to make sure you have someone from a different domain and a different email address send.
All right, let's pop back to the landing
Yes.
page. So we know how important that first landing page above the fold is, and you told us what should be there. Now we can start scrolling. What else should be on the initial page? What else do we want there?
And this is going to again depend on what you have. I like a logo strip under the main hero section. So, but only if you've got logos that are recognizable. So Joe and Fred's feed store is not necessarily going to lend you credibility. But if you really want to work in the insurance sector and you've got logos from insurance companies, that's a really good thing to put there. If
So
you
the
don't have
logos, so what you're saying, what I'm hearing is the logos that are correct for your
Yes.
target market.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you don't have any yet, that's fine. But right underneath that should be your best sizzle reel, right? Because they want to see you in action. I think a poor sizzle reel is not a good idea on a website, but the best that you can do. Show yourself in front of audiences and on stages that you want. So if you're desperately targeting audiences of 500, then I wouldn't necessarily include you standing behind a podium. Well, ever, but standing behind.
Podium is a kiss of death. It really is. Podium's a kiss of death.
But you talking to two people at a school or something like that, or doing it in a consulting room, if that's not the type of audience you want, you may not want to include that in your sizzle reel. Can I just do a quick sidebar on sizzle reels?
Please, oh yeah, absolutely. That's a main topic. Talk about sizzle reels. And we'll probably do a whole episode on sizzle reels. But for right now, yes, please.
So I am finding with AI and all of the ways where you can fake it, I cannot tell you how many times I have had an emerging speaker come to me and say, okay, so here's a picture of me talking. Put me on a huge stage and just Photoshop me in, and I want 3 great big monitors, and no.
It looks, no matter how good it is, it looks fake. I can't stand those.
It looks fake, yet there are still some decision makers who are being fooled by it. So then you've lied. So you've started off on the wrong foot. They think they're getting caliber X and they're really getting caliber K. So I always think that a sizzle reel is great, but on your meeting planner page, if you can, I would really like to see up to 20 minutes of you delivering your entire, like a full uncut piece of your talk. So I know that it isn't just, hey, I was brilliant for those 3 seconds. And then this 3 seconds over here, I want to see you being brilliant for 20 minutes so that I have more trust in what you can deliver.
And yeah, I can absolutely confirm that. Again, as somebody who places speakers, I always get the question, can you send me the sizzle reel and can you send me uncut video? So important.
It really is. And again, you guys are new, so you're going to have, there may not be the best, you may not have the best footage, but they know where you are. You're being honest. And in this world, honesty and trust, buyers they're getting taken and they want to trust. And if as long as you're being honest and you're showing them exactly how good you are, they'll forgive poor lighting. They'll forgive that the sound wasn't great this time, as long as your content is great.
No, but I mean, you will be judged by the quality of your video in that you'll be judged by your surroundings, I have
Yes.
found. So if indeed you have never been in front of 5,000 people, like you said, don't fake it because you're lying. I never even thought about that. You're lying to your customer right off the bat. You make such a good point. But also you're not prepared for that. So you get, you'll take a job that you're not ready for. But I think somebody points out the other day, I thought this was so brilliant, which is the pictures that you put out there, the imagery you put out there is what you want to do. I think you had just said that. Somebody had a clip and their sizzle reel was all news pieces. It was all them on TV, which is fine if you want to get on TV, right? Or if your sizzle reel is all, so many people send me podcast reels. They'll say, oh, here it is. Here's my content. And I'm like, no, they actually want to see you on stage. Now, if you're trying to sell yourself as a podcast guest, absolutely have a reel about being on podcast. But if you want to sell yourself to be on stage, you need imagery of you on stage.
Exactly. And speaking of imagery on stage, even if you haven't got those gigs, you can find a local church or a theater or something like that and say, hey, can I bring somebody in and just use your stage for 20 minutes and deliver 5 minutes of content, change your outfit, change the camera, deliver 5 more minutes of content, put a screen up behind you. I mean, you can make it look different, and that is still true. You are still delivering content. You are still on that stage. So you can make it a little bit better. But yeah, you definitely, yeah. Sorry.
All right, we gotta jump to the next topic here.
Yeah.
So tell me about your bio, and can AI just bang out a bio for me?
No.
Okay, next topic.
So your AI can write really interesting sounding things. AI can make you look really polished. AI has no idea what a buyer actually needs to see. So, and that's one of my big bugaboos is, I use AI. Of course I use AI. I think we all use AI. But I know what AI writing looks like, number one. But I also know that what you're asking for in your bio, if you just say, write me a bio, here's all about me, it will write a bio all about you. And what your bio needs to be is, I see you. Here's what I've experienced that might kind of coincide with that. I'm going to use this story to deliver this piece of information so that they get a feel of how, number one, what it's like to work with you. Are you, because if you come off like a diva, chances are it's not gonna, it just won't go well for you. And your bio needs to be more about the customer and how you understand what they're going through and your story can fix it than it is about, I was born in 1834. And, you know, if
Right.
you
'Cause
don't, they
nobody
don't care.
cares.
Nobody cares about you. It's not about you.
It's not about you. All right. What about topics? I need to put topics on my website. Tell me about that.
Absolutely, you need to put topics on your website. You need to have your topics on your landing page, just a little mini bit of it. But your topic should also be on your meeting planner page, and you should have a full page per topic if you've got enough content to fill it. If you don't, then a speaking page that just has the topics on it is great. A great title, but again, the topic isn't all about you and what you deliver. It needs to answer how you will deliver the information. Is this going to be a workshop format? Is it going to be a keynote format? Are we going to do this virtually? Is there a bunch of talking and sessions? So we want to talk about how you're going to deliver, but we also want to talk about what the outcomes are for the audience. I mean, a typical topic page will have topic, short explanation, bullet points with outcomes, and then a final wrap-up paragraph.
Okay. And I'm going to jump to another topic that, as you're talking about what goes in there, AI has now become a big search method for planners and event owners. I'm starting to get those calls. Well, I did an AI search and I found X speaker. What should I do to make my website AI friendly? Is there such a thing?
There absolutely is. And there's a few things that you can do. Number one, AI likes short, descriptive paragraphs, couple sentences here and there. So at the top of each page, I do like a summary so that because AI will pick that up. Frequently asked questions is a great tool for AI to, because we don't type in leadership speaker. We type in a question, and so the frequently asked question is often a question that AI will just find, oh, there's the exact question that they asked, and put it in there. Also getting your site listed on things like answering questions on Reddit. Reddit is one of the #1 sources that AI pulls information from. Does that just sidebar, does that not tell you about the quality of the information AI is giving you if Reddit is its #1 source?
Which is purely
Which is
people's little
just
opinions about things,
people
not
just have an
experts.
opinion.
Just,
No,
yeah.
exactly. So short, concise sentences, listing and also making sure that your website is listed in things like the Yellow Pages directory. Like directories are huge sources of AI search. E-speakers, like think about where AI is looking and go
there.
Yeah, thank you.
Be there, right? Be
Yeah,
there. So,
be there,
all
be
right,
square.
you had mentioned a meeting planner page. What
Yes.
on earth is that? I haven't done any events yet. What do meeting planners need?
So meeting planners, it's really a hub where they can get all of the information that they need at one place. So it's going to have your reel. That's where your 20-minute will probably live. That's where a summary of your topics and an opportunity to download. If you've got a one sheet, not everybody uses one sheets anymore, but if somebody wants a printed piece of paper, especially if they're an executive assistant who is doing the search for their boss, they want a piece of paper to give. So it's always a good idea to still have a one sheet available, even if it's not being asked for. You want to have your some headshots available to be downloaded. This is where a meeting planner can just find all of the pieces that they could possibly need to put together their program. So a 100-word bio, a 250-word bio, your audiovisual needs, like everything that they could possibly need. Number one, to make a decision, but number two, to to avoid having them said, "Oh, can you send me your headshot? Can you send me? Oh, can you send me?" It's all available right there and downloadable.
Excellent. All right, we are already at the end of our time, and I have a whole list of questions I still want, so need to have you back in the future. But for right now, I always like to end on the same question, which is, you've been in this business for 20 years. Looking back at all this knowledge when you were starting out, what one piece of advice would you give yourself about this industry?
Run. No.
Run, hide, don't do it. Okay.
No.
What second piece of advice would you give yourself?
Stay current. It's my business has evolved so many times from the first time that I started. So keep track of what's happening. Like I was on the AI train 5 years ago because I knew it was coming. When I first started, I thought I was going to build PowerPoint presentations in my first couple years. That's why the initials of my business is PPS. That was back before it was PPSX, PowerPoint Show. Anyway, to just make sure that you keep current, that you always learn, and your customers are always the most important thing next to your team. I love my customers, but my team, without them, I can't serve my customers. So my team is my number one priority within a business sense.
Thank you so much for that. And for anyone who would like more information, do visit pibworthps.com. One thing which I think is so great about your website is there are all these links, right, to the sites that you've done. So if you're looking for creative ideas, you're looking for structural ideas, you want to learn more about what we talked about on websites, please go to that website, check it out. You'll get to learn a lot. And then, of course, come back next week to the next Path to the Main Stage podcast. And if you like this podcast, please leave a review. It helps so much wherever you listen to it. And thanks so much, Lauren. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Path to the Main Stage. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for full video episodes, check out YouTube. If you want to be a successful speaker, you need to make it happen. My co-hosts and I are here to help guide you. But if you need more help, please check out pathtothemainstage.com where we can connect. And until next time, keep sharing your voice, keep showing up, and keep taking your path to the main stage.